Hey, good morning. What's going on, everybody? I'm in such a rush this morning that the video coffee repeat part is minus coffee today. I got up at 7 or something, which is later than I normally get up, and and then I don't know. Uh, things got weird. I just I just sort of didn't get motivated as soon as I wanted to. And I was working on other stuff and watching the kids. And before you knew it, here we are, just hanging out. So I worked out. I got out of my workout and I rushed over here to start the stream. So no coffee, just water. Doing the beach body, like always, like I've been doing for 6 years or so. Always works really well for me. Doing the work right now, which is cool. It's really hard. So today I want to talk about video strategy overall and how it can fit into a bigger content strategy. I know I streamed live our my podcast interview the other day with Joe Polizzi. Joe is he founded the Content Marketing Institute, sold it off. He's the founder of Content Marketing World, huge content marketing conference in Cleveland. I'll be a part of it this year as well. However, it'll probably be virtual, I'm guessing. I don't know. So probably won't be going to Cleveland. Cleveland's a great town, underrated. But we were talking a lot about content marketing strategy overall, and it sort of got me thinking in general about this idea of what sort of video to make and how it feeds your business at large, how it feeds your content strategy at large. I think that's super important. And so I wanted to drill down on it just a little bit today for those of you who are not quite sure where to fit video in your business, how to fit video in your business. So typically, what I would recommend, obviously, is that everybody be everywhere. And one of the things that Joe spoke about a lot, which I think was fascinating, and his podcast will be on audio either this week or next. I'll let you know about that. And by the way, I am live here everywhere. So this is sort of the new thing. VCR is now broadcasting live every Monday morning at 10:30 a.m. everywhere on the internet. So you can find me on Twitter, on Periscope, Twitch, Facebook, in my private group, the Video Marketing Accelerator, my Facebook page, Matt Johnston, and the Guide Social Facebook page as well. So please be there for this, and feel free to drop into the chat, and we'll make sure to get you taken care of. So what part should video take in your strategy overall? And should it always be short video, right? And so one of the things that, we are a video, like a social video marketing company, which is we help, and couldn't all video be on social? Yeah, of course, all video could be on social. But is it optimized for social? Is it specialized for social? That's a whole different thing. So how does it fit into the larger picture? Here's what I think. I think that first you need to obviously start with your avatar work, because you can't understand your goals before you figure out your avatar. So you do your persona exercise. It's in the book, right? Producing Empathy. You do your persona exercise. You do your lifestyle map and all of those things I talk about, and you figure out what the pain points and the wants and needs of your avatar are. That's going to be the leaping off point to allow you to know what type of content I make, what type of content to make, what stories to make. So then when you want to look at this macro, because I often speak about the micro, because I'm talking about video strategy in particular. So when you're looking at the micro of your video strategy, you're taking a look at the very specific story ideas that you can create just for the purposes of video. But what I'm talking about is the type of videos that you can create as part of a larger strategy. And so a couple of the things that I always end up talking to clients about, one, obviously about short and long-term goals. So when you're trying to figure out these short and long-term goals, are we talking about running an advertising campaign right away? And listen, with unlimited resources, I think you should be everywhere consistently all the time. When you're picking and choosing, and of course, some people will disagree with that. But I'm such a big believer in repurposing content that I think that you can make it happen. Done is better than perfect. And so I would rather see a done is better than perfect, even on Instagram and TikTok, than to not be there at all, personally. And you can just repurpose the content to get there. So as I've said before, you want to focus in on those one or two things to specifically focus on. So let's talk about this. If you have very short-term goals that have to do with sales, and of course everybody says that they have very short-term goals with sales, but being honest with yourself, when you only have a finite amount of resources, can you find a way to fuel both the organic and the paid? And yes, you can, but you want to make sure to be able to repurpose the organic to the paid. So if you're saying, let's say you have an event, for example, and that event is happening. It's all happening in the next 6 months. So 6 months from now, there's going to be an event, and you're thinking hard about your organic strategy and your paid strategy for this event. I need to get people to this event, whether they're buying tickets or it's free or whatever it is. And we've often done this with clients that have had retreats or something like that, whatever it may be. But I think that going all in on, let's say, an SEO strategy specifically for this event, so if you're telling yourself, oh, I know I've got to write blogs, that's probably not where you should be, right, in this moment. Anything that's sort of super long term. Now, I always want you to be thinking long term. And likely, if you're in this situation, you're not in a good spot. If you're in this situation, you're not where you should be. You should be thinking about the long term ahead of time. But if you and have a system and process in place to always have a social content strategy so that you're feeding this warm audience, so when these 6-month events come around, you have someone to pick from. That's what we work with clients with all the time. It's just, how can we build that community so that selling is easier? But I think that if you are in this circumstance, you're going to want to be mostly focusing on probably paid advertising to get people there. But you still need content. So from a video standpoint, what I would highly recommend doing is coming up with a very specific short-term organic strategy. Because the organic strategy will help fuel for the future. But the thing is, it will also seem native when you're using it in advertisements, right? So the great thing is, when you're buying ads on Facebook, they are not ads. Like, look at that billboard. Like, that's not how it works. That's not how it works at all. When you're talking about ads, you're talking about taking a post on social media and putting budget behind that content. It's all just content. It's a form of content. Even a direct sales message is a form of content. So when you're trying to figure out how exactly to structure this, you want to create a value-based system based on the stuff that I teach before, doing the avatar work, the lifestyle map, the problem solution that I have in the TikTok course, like all of this stuff, and coming up with these story ideas and then using them in a funnel. So you want to create a sales funnel that gets people to actually do your ultimate goal. So you're still creating that content, but you want to make sure that that content is specifically tailored to that avatar. Good morning, Julie. Hey, Hunter, what's going on, buddy? How you doing? Good to see ya. So I think that one of the things that you need to think hard about is, if you're in that short-term solution, what do you do? Now let's talk macro. Like, let's talk the macro of your video strategy. If you're starting and you're trying to figure out, okay, we're starting out here, and I want to make sure that I have a long-term strategy, a short-term strategy, and make sure that when I do sell to people, I've built a community to make it easier to sell to these people. Now, when you're in that position, you need to make sure to figure out how to get the organic working for you to build that community up even more. So you want to set it in place and think about where video can fit in this. You do not need, it's not a necessity to have a social video strategy. It's what I always talk about. It's what my expertise is in. It's what we do in my company. It's what I do. It's what I consult on. That's what I always talk about as a social video strategy. But one of the amazing things that I talked to Joe about is we talked a lot about how he had a very successful, when he founded Content Marketing Institute, he had a very successful documentary that blew up for his company. People didn't know what content marketing was even at the time, and so since they didn't know what it was, it was very hard for them to become valuable customers to him and his business. So it got them into a situation where they were sort of forced to think about, okay, so how can we actually bring awareness to this? How do we bring awareness to this idea that content marketing is a thing that can drive real value for your business and you should actually invest in it, because that was their business. And they decided at the end of the day, instead of being everywhere, they decided to create a documentary. I think they spent about $35,000 on it. That's what he said. And it's a documentary where they sort of went around and talked to the people that were doing content marketing at the time. It was obviously all value-based, so you should always be providing value. I come from a journalist background. That's why I love value. It works in business as well. True. So what they did was they made it an event. So it felt like they were everywhere, I think, in some ways, because they were owning that space. So instead of being everywhere, they owned the space of content marketing as creating the ultimate authority piece on what content marketing was at the time and why it mattered. Not an ad, a longer documentary or a mini doc that examined content marketing and how it can fit into businesses and how it actually produces a return for other businesses. So they did this video, and I haven't seen it. I've been meaning to go back to it, but it was apparently a huge hit. There was a ton of success from this, and I think that a lot of it came from making it an event. If you're going to put this much into it, it makes it an event. Now, I have general issues with this overall. I mean, when I was running video programs back in the day, and I was deeply involved in publishing, I wrote about this a lot in my book, about how I saw video programs crumbling all around me. They were trying to make mini docs like the Times and the Washington Post, although they accelerated quickly, more quickly than others. But they were creating these like mini doc companies, these mini doc video programs that were not socially optimized, and so they had to like fire and rehire staff a bunch of times. Whereas my programs were doing well because it was just social focused. It was just like, let's build this big Facebook video team. And Facebook video was huge at the time. You could go super viral. Organic reach was incredible back in 2016. So we were doing fine while they were like building and rebuilding and building and rebuilding and building and rebuilding all the time. So I don't necessarily think that you should be making stuff that isn't socially optimized. But the thing is, what they were trying to do is they were trying to like sort of like do a faux consistency there, right? Oh, we'll create 2 of these every week and it'll really move the needle. And one of the things that I talked to Joe about a lot the other day, which was fascinating, was what if you do these like once a quarter? You have a bigger, longer piece, or you can do this on your YouTube channel with less of an interval. With less of an interval, because Joe is very much on the quality over quantity. I very often am in the quantity over quality while having a system for quality, right? It's all about focus. I like you to focus on quantity, and then let the quality sort of come. Like once that quality is always part of everything you do, like you embrace that mindset, then you want to embrace volume-based KPIs in your business so that you can make sure that you do it. Because the biggest problem is consistency, not value. Because when you tell people to give value, you're like, are you sure I should just give value? Okay, all right, I'll give value. And then they go and they go off on it and they give a ton of value to people. And then what happens is they just don't do it anymore. They make 2 and like never start again, or they never even start in the first place because they're too focused on it. I've had this problem with YouTube. I had a period where for about 2-3 months there in the fall when I was like, okay, I'm going to go hard on YouTube. And then I just sort of gave up. Now I had a very good podcast on Friday. Make sure you go back and listen to it, Video Marketing Podcast, and subscribe. We're working so hard on the team to get big guests into this podcast. But we had Owen Video on, and he talked about his YouTube growth strategy, and it made me feel a little bit better off of it because it's not based on keywords. It's just based on stuff that you want to do and stuff that provides value in the space that can create fun, awesome, cool video. So I may be back if I can find time between all of these type of things that I'm doing. I'm all about repurposing because I'm constantly thinking of ways that I can turn even this weekly broadcast into many other types of content. Of course, I do slice it up into social content and blast it everywhere. Could I turn it into other forms of long-form content? Well, I do sometimes do it on the podcast. YouTube, I don't know. We'll see. You got to make sure to have focus on YouTube and really give people that specific value. So if you're trying to think about it, I mean, I would think about what your strengths are. You can do this in written form. So you could write longer deep dive articles, and I have seen that quarterly to provide that huge amount of value. It makes you the centerpiece of and allows you to sort of own that unique space. But the thing is, people aren't going to be able to actually connect with you is part of the issue. And if you have a personal brand, it's going to be hard for them to super connect with you. I mean, you still can in the written form, and I super believe in it. And journalists have been doing it for years. Like, we follow them, we follow their writing. But my connection with people that write tends to be a little bit different. Like, I don't always see them as much as friends. Like, I don't have this personal connection as I do, like, their authorities. They are they're experts, whatever it may be. So sometimes that adds that sort of extra difficult layer that can be really, really tough for me to grapple with, which is why I don't go too hard on it, except for the book, right? So I wrote the book as this piece, and I'll probably do a book. I'm hoping to do a book about once every 2 years. And so the book is this like seminal piece in my own personal brand and for my agency, since I'm my own top of funnel for my for my own video marketing agency. It acts as that seminal piece, right? Oh, he wrote a book on it. There's that, And of course, I make the book as good as possible. I don't leave anything out. I just try to go value, value, value. There's no reason to leave anything out of it, right? And so the book was my version of doing that. So I decided that I would rather write a book than do a blog series on all of these things. That was what mattered to me. That's what I thought would move the needle for me. Let me see if I have a guest on today. I think I do, don't I? Where is my... Oh my gosh, we've been having so many technical difficulties, though, with guests lately. Oh, we don't have a guest on today. Okay, well, that's fine. All good. We'll just go shorter today. So, you guys, I have to tell you about my TikTok experiment. So, I went and posted... I aimed to post 15 TikToks over the weekend. Or sorry, I aimed to post 20, and I ended up posting like 15 or 16, I think, which is very interesting. Oh, I just got an email from... Oh, interesting. Oh, I'm very excited for this. Okay, so here's what happened. Here's the reason why I didn't go with all 20. And here's the reason why I would recommend everybody do this anyway. Boom. I was not seeing as good a performance, and that's true this morning too when I woke up. So usually my baseline of views on my TikToks is somewhere in the realm of 1,000 to 1,100. And I was seeing my baseline on all of these videos be a little bit closer to 650 to 700 views on these videos. Some of them did a little bit better, but even the ones that I thought would really blow up weren't blowing up as much. So I learned a couple of things about this. Number one, I didn't see an immediate... Now, of course, the long-term strategy of of building a bigger video library on TikTok really matters. And so these videos will there's often like sort of a delayed blow up that happens. So I'm going to be patient and wait and see what happens before I do a full report on this. But my initial reactions are views are a little down. Now views are a little down across the platform, not in any crazy way. You still would never get this many views on anything in other platforms. But even though it's not in any crazy way, it's significant enough to me to say, okay, maybe the volume game isn't as great. Like I didn't see any huge hits. So did it hurt me? And honestly, as I was checking things, it felt like there was a little bit less engagement, like less followers, less likes on my stuff, less comments on my stuff than normal. Maybe I'm crazy, but that's kind of what I was seeing. I used to sort of be like basically 70 to 100 followers per night on autopilot. My old content would repop. And I've sort of seen that get suppressed lately. And some of that has been since I started this experiment. So I'm going to back off of this experiment and I'm going to sort of max out at 2 a day, like 3 a day, super max. Because I think that's all you need to do. And maybe focus slightly more on quality. But I do want to see the long term, because at the end of the day, I want to make sure that everybody that comes through and combs through my profile gets a lot of value. And even like when there's not a lot of views on content, those could still be 650 more valuable views if I'm giving a ton of value. And it's not as much of a broad content piece that's going to appeal to everybody on TikTok that might see it. It would just appeal to my avatar. And I did drill down on that more, and I'm wondering if that's what happened. Though there were a couple of videos there that I kind of thought would do better than they did. So I'm interested to see if they end up getting a delayed virality. If they do, I'm going to change this altogether. Now, one of the reasons that I would highly recommend that people do this anyway, like go nuts and try to do like at least 10 in a day at one point, just to see what happens, and just like duets and replying to comments and just like going for it, trends, everything, is because it really, in baseball, if there are any sports fans in the house, in baseball they have this thing called a donut, and it goes onto your bat, and when you swing the bat, your bat's really heavy, so that when you actually get up to bat against a real pitcher, take off the donut, the bat feels lighter, and it gets your bat speed up because you've tricked your brain into thinking that it's faster than it is, that you're stronger than you are, whatever it may be, that the bat's lighter than it actually is. That's why I want you to do this. This is why I want you to do 10 in a day. Because it really, like when I was getting into a point where I was having trouble like keeping up with the cadence of posting as much as I wanted to post. And so I wanted to just go nuts here, like the donut. I wanted to do the donut. And maybe we should do a donut challenge in my free TikTok group. 10 posts in a day. Who would do that? If you would do that, message me. But anyway, after posting 15, 16, 17, however many I did over the course of like 36 hours, I realized that, this is just, it doesn't take very long. It's not that hard. It's all in my head. Like any problems that I'm having figuring out what content to do, it's all in my head. Because again, when you focus on volume, you win. And so I would highly recommend people do it, because now 2 or 3 is going to feel like nothing. Oh, I got to bang out 2 or 3 TikToks a day that are towards my avatar. Heck yeah, I'll just go for it. Right? So that's why I would recommend it. But yeah, as I'm going through, I've just generally seen engagement sort of be down. Yeah, 600 views, 650, 666, 777. Weird view numbers, 713, 714, 733, 687. And so typically I would see better than this overall. And if you look at my account 1 week ago, and there's been a lot of people that have been talking about views being down on TikTok, which is not something that I'm worried about. There's more competition. It's the fastest growing social platform in history. It's just a fact. But it's interesting. Not too bad, but not as good as I thought it might be. So I think I think what I would recommend is that you do like a 10 a day challenge, a donut challenge to get out there. So you can get used to posting consistently 2 to 3 times per day so it doesn't feel like such a mountain that you're climbing, and then take it from there, because I think that that could be huge for you. I just got my invitation to TikTok ads. I am so much more of a I am so much more of an organic guy than an ads guy in general, as far as what you focus on. But I am relatively expert level in Facebook advertising, and so I'm very interested to see how TikTok ads work. So I'm going to dig into this. I'm going to let you know how that goes. Now, okay, everybody, I'm going to end that here for now. Have an amazing rest of your day. I hope I was able to give you just a little bit of value today.